Everyone, and welcome back to Double Sleeved MTG. I'm Guy, and below me we have Seth, my co-host, my lovely, beautiful person, as well as Taylor. We finally get the face reveal for both of them. Finally get to see the two other faces behind the channel. Seth does so much of the background work, and I can't thank him enough for all this stuff. And then Taylor's just there sometimes. Today we're doing a tournament recap because both Taylor and I went out to the Snowy Summit 5K in Denver, Colorado, and we both top six. Fortunately, spoiler alert, we didn't make it to the finals. Regardless of that, both had a great time. Got to meet a bunch of people. Got to meet a bunch of fans. I had a few of you come up and just meet me throughout the event and just tell me you love the content and how much you appreciate it. It's awesome. It's absolutely incredible to me that we're already starting getting recognized. Thank you all for the support we get, as I do every week. Continue to like, share, comment, subscribe. So let's get into this tournament recap.
All right, Taylor. Okay, you were on Malcolm Tannen, and a bit of a different list we don't normally see. Yeah, I mean, like you've told us before, I don't think I've seen you play the same list twice.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your list that you played this past weekend.
So I tried something a little different. In the past, I've done a Malcolm Vial Smasher list, and what I did to be a little different with this one was go Malcolm Tana. And the reason behind that is I figured with all the green tutors being able to put my Glinthorn Buccaneer into play, and also my secondary win con, which caught a lot of people off guard, which was just a straight Niv Mizzet line with the Curiosity package. It was a lot easier to kind of finagle my way into a win, if you will, or dirtle my way there, versus trying to hard tutor things to hand and hard cast and keep the game going that way. So that was my game plan, was really just Glinthorn or Malcolm, or Glinthorn or Niv Mizzet, and it seemed to work pretty well.
Now, Guy, no shocker here, playing Sisay. Playing
Excuse me for being basic and something unreliable.
his left-handed Sisay that he loves so much.
I play that Sisay just because other people don't like it.
All right.
So, of course, I was on Sisay. It's my over-reliable. I did want to add some new spicy includes, which, being cards from Assassin's Creed, I added 3 of them. Arbaz Mir, I believe. We'll talk about him later when he comes up. I did win. My 2 wins were solely off that card, as well as Basim, which is another 2-mana 2-pip legendary for card draw, and I Virgo Energy, the legendary land that is Graveyard Hate 1, and is also Graveyard Recursion, which Sisay struggles to have. Absurgo came up and Braz came up. I believe that's his name. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but I'm enjoying them so far. I'm going to continue testing.
All right. Well, we'll go back to Taylor here, and let's get into his first round. Your first round looks like a bit of a tough one. You've got Stella Lee in first seat. You got yourself in second seat. Then TNT. Which kind of TNT was that in third seat?
Tymna Thras.
That was a Tymna Thras. Nice. And then Nate was on Blue Farm.
Yes.
All right. Tell us a little bit about that match.
So unfortunately, this game went to a draw. It was mostly my fault. I attempted an early Glinthorn Buccaneer, and that got stopped. To which I had to pivot pretty quickly into my Niv Mizzet line, which worked out very well for me. I was able to land a Dockside into a Magda, and turn that Magda 5 treasures into a Niv Mizzet in an end step, to try and draw some cards and gain some value. And unfortunately, my Niv Mizzet was pyroblasted by the blue farm player.
Nice.
That said, I had to go for my third and final win con, which is in the deck, which is my Underworld Breach, and I had to manually find my way through that with a Dockside, a Professional Facebreaker, and a bunch of clones. And I was able to make about 9 treasures on my Dockside, about 7 times I think I did this, and it was brutal. I could not find my Brain Freeze to save my life. It ended up being third from the bottom at the end of the game. We went and looked for it just to see how far away it was from the win. But we were able to take up so much amount of time during the game, to which I did apologize to the team. You know, I was not taking too much time, but I was at least taking game actions, continuously exiling a card, and starting to try and bring things around. But it didn't seem to want to go anywhere, unfortunately. So yeah, the game went to a draw. There's not much more I can say about it other than the fact that it was just kind of a game where I attempted 3 wins and got blown out.
I mean, at least you attempted to win and didn't just sit there the whole time. All right, now, Guy, you seem like you did a little bit better in your first round. Tell us about your Sisay, your first game with Sisay.
So I'm not gonna lie, first round's kind of based off of luck. My normal tournament curse is I mulled a 4, and it seems today I mulled a 4 in round 1. It seems I passed that off to my opponents in round 1, which we take those. So my first round, it was myself in first seat on Sisay, and then in second seat there was a Tim the Malcolm deck, which was cool. Don't see it often. In third seat was the OG Narset, and then fourth seat was Kennen. Myself and Tim the Malcolm both mulled a 6. Narset most of 4, and Kennen most of 5. So it was a bit rough start for them. It pretty much turns into a 1v1, but the other 2 players mulling extremely low. Myself and the Malcolm Tim the player. It turns into a 1v1 between us. My turn 1, I start off with just land, Deathrite Shaman. Malcolm goes land, like some black changeling for the pirate. Narset doesn't do much. Kennen doesn't do much. And for the next 2-3 turns, both Tim and Malcolm and I play Favorite Elder on 2, Zavala on 3, Sisay on 4. Tim and Malcolm just develops your board like crazy, draws a bunch of cards, makes a bunch of treasures. This whole time those players unfortunately aren't doing much, but they are representing and showing each other they have interaction, which is perfectly fine. Go ahead and collude. Like, that's the best part about our format, is we can collude with other players to stop people. This is a social format, and use your outs, and your opponents are your outs as well. So if you want to reveal any information you can to stop person A, turn it into an Arch-Enemy game, go right ahead, which that's what it was quickly developing into. So this game goes through with both of us developing like crazy. I am prepared to win at this point with a board state of Lotus Petal, Favorite Elder, Deathrite Shaman, Sisay, Zavala. And in my hand at this time is a Touch the Spirit Realm, a Flusterstorm, I believe, and a Dockside. So I'm just ready to go. The Malcolm Tim, the player, gets to his turn, and he throws a bit of a wrench in my plan by playing a Wishclaw Talisman, activating it, and going to get Oppo. He ends up giving the Wishclaw Talisman to the Kennen player, who agrees to go get like a mana rock. So it gets passed around. Narset plays land, plays mana, does their thing. Gets to Kennen, does as he says, draws a land, plays mana rock, plays Seaboard Muse, passes to me. Gets to my turn. I draw, I play Dockside. In response to the Dockside, Malcolm Tim cracks 3 treasures. Dockside resolves, I believe I get 9 treasure tokens or something like that. And so I just have an egregious amount of mana at this point. I attempt to move phases, so he would lose the floating mana in response to me attempting to go to combat. They attempt to flash in opposition agent. Cool, great. In response to the Oppo, I activate Sisay. In response to the Sisay activation, the Kennen player attempts to Pognify Sisay. All right, great. Throw another Sisay activation on the stack. That Sisay activation resolves. I go get Kennen onto the battlefield, and then crack my remaining 4 treasures and my Lotus Petal for double Wooburg. I throw 2 more Sisay activations on the stack, going to get Derevi, untapping my Zavala, and going to get Emil, generating infinite mana with Dockside, or Derevi and Emil through that way. And once I have infinite mana on top of this Oppo and Pognify, and then go get Arbaz Mir, which says whenever it's a Boros 2-pip legendary from Assassin's Creed, says whenever it or another historic permanent, non-token permanent enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1. So I just then began to infinitely flicker Arbaz and draining each of my opponents on top of the Oppo. So it's a great showing for that card.
So that would leave you Taylor's draw the first round, and Guy, you won. All right, back to you, Taylor. How did you fare in game 2?
Game 2 was a little bit interesting. Got to see some decks that I've not at all expected to see, and definitely got put in my place with my respect level for these decks. it was Ratadrabik in first seat, Cindersplit and Okeem, I believe it is, in second seat, myself in third seat, and Thrasios Vile in fourth seat.
Okay, for the people, because I don't know what the hell those commanders are.
So Ratadrabik is the Orzhov legendary creature.
It's
that whenever a legendary creature dies, they make a clone, and it's a token non-legendary.
It's Ratadratic of Urborg.
Yeah. Yep.
Vigilance Ward 2, is that the correct?
That's the correct one, yeah.
Oh. I don't think I've ever seen that being played.
I've seen it. I've seen it. There were two of them, but I've seen it before. I just wasn't prepared for it.
And then you said, what was the other one you said?
Cindersplit and Okeem.
Watch Cindersplit be the only one that does not have a deck list on here.
No, they're all listed. Yeah, they're all listed. But I'll get into the gameplay on this one because it was pretty simple. Turn one, I believe, was a fetch land from Ratadrabik into a land Soul Ring. My goodness, I'm trying to remember. It is land Soul Ring, Krark's Thumb from the Cindersplit, and I go, okay, fine. Land, which was it was Cavern of Souls into Ragavan, into Jeweled Lotus, into Malcolm, pass. So very, very good start for me. Without knowing what's in my hand, I get to at least make 3 mana on turn 2. So that's a great start for me. Vile Smasher just absolutely comes out with tons of mana in turn 1, and it is a monster powerhouse of mana in turn 1, which is really cool to see. Goes to Ratadrabik. Unfortunately, he gets land screwed. I think he was able to get a Scry land into play in end step and kind of do maybe a Soul Ring into a Arcane Signet or something along those lines. And then it goes to the Cindersplit player, who plays his second 2 mana producer and is able to Cindersplit on turn 2. And when he Cindersplits on turn 2, he goes to combat, and Cindersplit triggers, and he rolls 12 dice and wins all 12 rolls and draws 12 cards. And it was brutal. I was
person
not
like Adnaz on turn 2 and isn't.
Yeah, I was not prepared for it. It's not at all something that I was counting on. So I draw for turn, unfortunately don't hit a land, and I go, uh-oh, I'm a little bit in trouble here. So I go to combat, swing, get nothing off of my Ragavan. I do grab another, I think it was another land. So I was able to make 2 treasures, and I then pass the turn. It gets back around the table one more time. Somehow Cindersplit gets kind of screwed over and is not able to Cindersplit again in this turn. So it comes to me, and I'm able to drop my uncounterable Glinthorn Buccaneer. And all ears at the table perk up. The Vile Thrasios player is able to Worldly Tutor in response to my Glinthorn Buccaneer for a Colossal Sky Turtle. And then he cycles a Triome to draw said Colossal Sky Turtle. And then he channels the Colossal Sky Turtle to bounce my Malcolm back to my hand. It was the most interesting interaction I could have ever seen, and I had absolutely no interaction for it. We get through that monster of an interaction, and I end up casting my Storm Drake to steal the Cindersplit to at least slow him down a little bit. And I force him to I sacrifice his Cindersplit, which slows him down just a hair. I think gives us another turn. Gets back around to the table to me. I jam my Malcolm uncounterable once again. Move to combat, and in combat they kill my Malcolm, or they counter my Malcolm, or something along those lines for that one. We get back around the table one more time, and somehow I'm able to send it once more, and they exile my Glinthorn Buccaneer. So it was a just game of all sorts of removal. Not a fun one for me. definitely funny for me though. I got got to see way more removal than I ever could have guessed. And Zyndasplit got it in the end with the Zyndasplit and man, I'm gonna forget the name of the creature, but it allows you to pay 0 to flip a coin, and you can put a million triggers on the stack. And in doing so, you draw your entire deck, kill your Zyndasplit, and win the game through some sort of overload of damage and, you know, move through it. But again, it was definitely a super fun game.
Guy,
So Taylor, you're still over there playing Seed. Gotta step it up. He was over there playing 4D chess with that colossal sky turtle. What are you doing?
Dude, it was too much. I don't know what to expect. There's no way. I anticipated that maybe he would have had a draw spell of some kind to draw said colossal sky turtle, because it was just a worldly tutor. He did not have Thrasios in play, so I figured whatever he tries to draw it with, I would counter that. And I did have a spell pierce for the worldly tutor, but he already had enough mana that it just didn't matter. Or I'm sorry, it might have been a Swan Song. I think we pulled the Spell Pierce the night before. I think it was a Swan Song that I was carrying.
Yeah,
And I just didn't think it was a threat. I said, yeah, go get your Dockside, go get whatever it might be that you're setting up for your next turn, because if this resolves, because I'm already at combat, and again, this is the worst part, I was already in combat with 1 mana. I could not activate, and it drove me insane. So again, learning new stuff. Again, it's a brand new deck to me, so I probably made a lot of mistakes during that game. I think I made up for it though in the further games to come.
moving right along here. Guy, how did you fare in your second round?
The second round was absolutely atrocious. We sat down and we all immediately started laughing at one after another. Blue Farm is in first seat, pulls out his deck list. Second seat, pulls out a Sisay. I'm in third seat, pull out a Sisay. Fourth seat, pulls out a Sisay. So we all just look. Like,
wait a
terrible
minute.
pod. Do you guys want an ID?
Wait a minute. We have 3 Sisays and a blue farm.
Yes, that is the pod. Blue Farm in first seat, and then Sisay, me, and then Clam Chowder Sisay. For those of you who don't know, Clam Chowder Sisay is just 5-color good stuff, or as I like to call it, just bad Kenrith. And I'm absolutely going to catch some flack for that in the Clam Chowder Discord, but I don't care.
Oh, you have lit a fire.
We'll start a fight in the Sisay Discords.
You're gonna catch some shit. All right.
I will die on this hill.
You will die on this hill. Oh God, you might regret those words.
I'm gonna just say this now. Spoiler alert: the Clam Chowder Sisay won the tournament. So
I said what I said.
So talk all the
so
shit about
this
it.
is-
He got the win, huh?
So
all right.
This game actually ended up on stream. So this was the round 2 stream game.
Oh, I
Thanks
remember.
to
I
our good
remember
old
you
buddy
posting that.
Raul. So when the stream team came over and asked us, we all looked like, "Are you sure you want this game on stream?" I was like, "Yeah." Raul said he wanted this one, so we ended up over there.
He
And
must have hated Blue Farm.
funny enough, Blue Farm is probably the best matchup for Sisay. Just not when there's 2 other Sisays in the pod.
Like when you're saying his best matchup is just Sisay has the better advantage over Blue Farm, or
in my opinion, and I've heard from a few other people as well, Sisay does have a good advantage over Blue Farm just because both decks want to go long, and Blue Farm doesn't run much interaction to stop us. Yeah, sure, they got Oppo, but just remove as much as you can.
Yeah. All right.
Easier said than done, of course. Some games they get it, some games it's a 50-50 between us, but I believe...
some games you run into 50 pieces of removal for a Glidhorn Buccaneer.
But
In
anyway,
this game, I end up... I think Blue Farm and Clam Chowder Sisay both keep first 7 or something along that line. The second Sisay moles to 6 or 5, I believe. I mull to 6. And I should have mulling. I should have gone to 5. My hand was so bad. It was a Bayou, Swan Song, Deathrite Shaman, Ignoble Hierarch, Soul Cauldron, and Luris. I think I bottomed Italian or something. Yeah, I kept a 6 with a 1-lander and 2 mana dorks. I was like, we'll get there, sure. I didn't get there.
so I mean, what was your game plan? I mean, at the time, what was your game plan with that hand? Just waiting till you draw into the land, or?
No, so my game plan was there to, if there was because I'm in third seat, if there was a fetch land played between the first two players, I'm going to play Deathrite Shaman. If there was not, I was going to play Noble Hierarch. And this way, with this hand, I do have Swansong interaction up with Deathrite Shaman that can produce the blue. And I also have Agatha's Soul Cauldron for blue farm to potentially stop a breach line. That was my game plan behind keeping the hand. I knew better. I should have gone to 5. So this game, getting into it, it ends up blue farms off to the races, doing their normal thing, playing like, I think turn 1, turn 2 Crom, turn whatever Timna, doing their normal thing. Sisay in second seat, Aether Vial pass, me, Land Dork pass. Clam Chowder Sisay in fourth seat. Believe just goes Land Ramp pass. So it's pretty normal throughout that. I missed my land drop, but I do draw a Kinnan. So I activate Deathrite and cast Kinnan. I'm like, cool, this is going to help me a lot. Gets to 4th seat Sisay. They're developing well. Lotho and Sisay on turn 2. And this game immediately goes to Crom smacking Sisay, Sisay smacking Crom. By the end of the game, the Clam Chowder Sisay had 16 Crom damage on him. And I think Blue Farm was probably at like 7 or 9 Sisay, but they had a bigger board. And so it becomes this back and forth between the two of them ignoring myself and the other Sisay player, where the Clam Chowder Sisay says to the Crom player that if you die, I need you alive to stop them from winning, because they thought that the other Sisay and I were just sandbagging stuff. Like, dude, I'm sitting over here with 1 land and 2 mana dork. My kid got power blasted and I haven't hit a second land. It's like turn 5, turn 6. I'm not in this. So they have this back and forth for a couple more turns. I eventually get a Rhystic Study out, and between the Rhystic Study and a Bowmaster, Crom gets the blue farm player gets shot down to a very low life total, and they finally come to the agreement of, or the Clam Chowder Sisay proposes a draw, because it's like, hey, either if I kill you, those two are probably going to win. If you kill me, they're probably going to win because I'm also stopping them out. The blue farm player goes, I think I can get a win through this. And I look him dead in his eyes and tell him no, because I have interaction in my hand, and I'm normally not one to lie, and I don't. They do some more discussing, and he was like, well, I have this one on. And I just show him, like, look, man, I have Force of Will and Earthite in my hand with a blue card pitch. So we all just agree, that way we don't king make anyone. Unfortunately, it was the stream game, but that was the best outcome for all 4 of us, just accepting a draw there. And I like to preach to people, and it happened a lot throughout this weekend, as you'll learn when we go through this event. Play to all of your outs. Sometimes king making is an out, because if you king make and people, and that forces a draw situation, if that's your out, go for it. It's your best chance if you can't win.
Now, back to Taylor here. I'm reading this game. This next round for you, Etali, Malcolm, Timna, Elsha, and then you
yeah.
in 4th seat. The Etali
this is a scary game.
The Italian first seat, that is scary. We all know how fun Etali is.
We came back from lunch. Fucking guy. We come back from lunch, and I'm already not having a great day. I'm on a loss and a draw. Not a great way to start. Knowing that we're only playing 5 rounds, not 6. I know that the next 3 rounds are very important. So I come back and I definitely mulligan properly. I mulligan down to I believe it's a Chrome Mox. I believe I wrote these ones down. Yeah, it's a Cavern of Souls, a Jeweled Lotus, a Glenhorn Buccaneer, a Deflecting Swat, and it was not a Deflecting Swat. It was a Mindbreak Trap and a Chrome Mox. I was prepared for the Etali turn 1. I had the Mindbreak Trap ready to send into him to stop him from winning the game. And sure enough, he didn't actually win it. He went land, Soul Ring, another Mana Rock, nothing really scary. I said, okay, I think we're safe. It went to the same, funny enough, the same Malcolm Timna that Guy played against earlier. And he didn't have much to do. I believe it was just a Mystic Remora, which was great. For me, it sucks. I'm going to give him at least 1, and I know that. But hey, 1's better than 0, especially from 4th seat. The Elsha top player, unfortunately, I believe he had to mulligan down to 5 as well. But his 5, I don't think was very good because he definitely just went land pass. It goes to my turn. I went ahead and played the gemstone the Cavern of Souls, and then the Jeweled Lotus, and I cast an uncounterable Malcolm, and I just passed the turn. I'm stuck on that, and I've got nothing else to do. It gets around the table. Nobody else really does anything of note. I don't have to send the Mindbreak Trap into anything, and I just go ahead and play the land that I drew the turn prior. Cast the Chrome Mox, exiling. I'm not even certain what I exiled. I believe it was something red that I drew for that turn, but I was just so excited to go uncounterable Glinthorn Buccaneer on turn 2. The table looked at me and they kind of groaned and said, "Yep, you're there." And I said, "Great." And with fear of what happened to me in pod 2, I went into combat, swung both, and the table said, "Yep, you got it." And sure enough, it was a turn 2 win. My opponents were extremely cool about it. We all talked about it after. We laughed, and we ended up playing a fun game after. But this is what kind of spiraled me back into playing better for the next round.
Now let's look at your round 3. Your round 3. Why is your image here? Your image is fucking sideways. God. Okay.
So, I want to apologize for saying Taylor typed all of his notes out. In between each round, I did a video recording on my phone. That way I could write them down later. Because we weren't planning on doing this set review this tournament recap until I got back home. But as you can see, we're making do with what we got. I'm at Taylor's house still.
Okay. So this one looks like a little bit more of a diverse setup. Just like Taylor here, it looks like you're in 4th seat. You got Blue Farm.
We both just got shafted this turn, but we both came out on top. So did we really?
Blue Farm, Atraxa, Tivit, and you.
So I went from being in one hell of a pot with 3 Senseis of Blue Farm to probably against 2 of my worst matchups being Atraxa and Tivit. Well, I won't say 2 of the worst. Just because of the control aspects. Our worst is probably Rock. I will be honest here. We're all, I think we all keep 6 and 7, something like that. And we're all pretty happy, pretty confident with our hands. Like, we're all talking, having some good banter. You know, we're all playing some turn 1. Blue Farm goes, land, dork, rock, something like that. Atraxa goes, land, Mox Diamond, Cannon. I'm like, oh, good for you, man. I'm sitting over there looking at, what was my hand? It was Strict Serenade, Tarnished Citadel, Smothering Tide, Scrubland, Rhystic Study, and Windswept Heat. So I kept Scrubland, Rhystic Study, and an interaction, thinking this is going to be a slow game. I'm against 2 slow decks and then a Blue Farm that can be slow and grind. I'm expecting this to be a very slow game. Boy, was I wrong. So those 2 go off in their turn, and then Tivit goes turn 1. It was Land, Soul Ring, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Rhystic Study on turn 1.
Damn.
That escalated quickly.
Just a shout out, that was Ryan, part of the Iron Lion CDH team, which I am also a part of. Great player, so always look out.
Absolutely, yeah. Us double sleeve players, we are not sponsored by the Iron Lion. However, Taylor himself is, and a bunch of people out in Colorado Springs are. I'll go ahead and link their store down, their website down in the description below this video as well. Go check them out. They got a large variety, large inventory. So go show them some love as well. So getting back into this, he has the absolutely nuts start. He's down to 2 cards in hand, and we're gonna have to feed him a little bit through Rhystic.
Just reiterate who has the absolute nut start, just so I'm following along.
Tivit.
So Tivit, okay, Tivit's just going bonkers here, just doing what he needs.
Tivit went turn 1, 5 mana and a Rhystic Study.
On
turn 1 in 13. I thought this was going to be a slow game. So Tivit does that. I don't remember what I do on turn 1. I think I go just land pass because I'm pulling up a Strict Serenade. Gets around to a Blue Farm. Blue Farm, I'm pretty sure they just do, like early Crom, Timna, whatever.
Yep.
The Atraxa player, they play some mana. Oh, sorry. They play a land, and then they attempt to cast a Basalt Monolith. So I'm sitting there with the Strict Serenade in my hand, and thankfully this can counter artifacts on my Swan Song that I've messed up so many times. So he's got Kinnan on board, putting up Assault Monotone. I'm debating on countering this because I'm second in turn priority from him, but it doesn't say win the game right now because he has no colored mana to produce with it. So Tivit says, I will show you my hand if you say you will counter this, because I have nothing to stop this. I'm like, perfect. I'm going to have to see this, or I'm letting it resolve. So he shows me his hand, and this is important for what happened next. The cards in his hand are Archivist of Agma and Flusterstorm. Like, I can back you up if you get in a counter fight, but I can't do anything else for you. I'm like, cool, bet. I'll counter it. I Strict Serenade, counter the Basalt Monolith. Everything's cool. Goes to Tivit's turn. Tivit plays, I think he plays Grim Monolith, gets a Tivit out this turn. This is turn 2. No, I think turn 2 he just passes. Yeah, turn 2 he just passes. Plays Grim Monolith and pass. He's just sitting back, hanging up on that Ristic Study, trying to draw more cards. Maybe he has the S% out. Yeah, he has the S% out at this point as well. Gets to me. I think I just go land pass. But my whole plan is to make it to turn 3, thinking it was going to be slow. Turn 3 Ristic Study, turn 4 Smother Tide. Sounds pretty good. Apparently not. Get to Tivit's turn. Keep in mind what I said he had. He goes to combat. He attacks, gets a Tivit trigger, gets some more treasure. So he has a ton of mana at this point. This is turn 3, turn 4. I said he had in hand that he showed me Flusterstorm and Archivist of Agma. He's drawing a couple cards off Ristic Study at this point, of course. This man goes, cast Grand Abolisher, make my Ristic. I draw Force of Will. Bet. Force of Will the Grand Abolisher. Like, cool. Cast Teferi Time Raveler. Got nothing for that one. Blue Farm says, I got nothing. Pass to Atraxa. Atraxa forcing negations with Teferi, exiling it. So that gets rid of his protection and one of his win lines being Displacer Kitten. Perfect. Like, well, that's gone. Y'all can't have much more interaction. Cast Time Sieve. No tutors were had in between this. He drew that. I pass on it. Blue Farm has a Mind Break trap. Saves us.
Oh, it feels bad.
He drew like a god and still couldn't get there. We were so lucky that all three of us had the perfect interaction.
Nice. Sometimes it just lines right up.
Man, when I tell you I never fucking so hard.
Oh.
But we were all having a good laugh about that. That was nuts. It was absolutely incredible. So he goes, he's already smacked us. He's out of mana. He's passing his turn. At this point, we're all voting clues for the 3 Tivit trigger he's gotten. So he's sitting at like 6 something clues somewhere around there. He's got a ton of artifacts. In my hand at this time is a Noble Hierarch of note. In my hand at this time is a Noble Hierarch, a bunch of lands, a Bloom Tender, and an Eldritch Evolution. So all I have is mana. That's all I've been drawing off this list, except for that Force of Will.
I feel like a Dockside's coming.
Who would have thought that one, right? So it gets to my turn. I play land, play Noble Hierarch. That resolves, cool. I don't pay for, because I have a Smothering Tide out, I don't pay for Ristic Study, get a rebate on my Noble Hierarch. Perfect. Because Tivit's pretty blown out. I'm not too worried about him, knowing he doesn't have interaction after that whole turn. I then cast Eldritch Evolution, sacrificing my Noble Hierarch. Ristic. This time I'll pay for it, because I got the extra mana. Just to make sure this one resolves, and I didn't want him to draw it off of that one. Hope he did before. Perfect, cool. Eldritch Evolution, my Noble Hierarch into a Dockside. Dockside for like 17. It was something ridiculous.
Wow.
It was an egregious amount of mana from a Dockside. And my board state at this time was just now Dockside, Smothering Tide, and Risk. That was in land. That was my board state.
So there's no,
I'm not on.
There's no Sisay on the board. There's no.
Sisay hasn't been cast. My whole plan was get the Ristic Study, get the Smothering Tide, and hold out. No, I don't run Cultist of the Absolute in my deck, because on the East Coast, a Dockside will starve. But out here, no one was respecting a Dockside. They were feeding it every game. And I wish I had Cultist, because there have been so many times I could have just slammed Dockside for 10 and win. But on the East Coast, I'm so used to everyone starving it.
Yeah, for some reason, here people on the East Coast, they starve fish, they starve Esper Sentinels. Hell, they'll even starve a Crom and a Ristic Study. and Dockside is just the same.
Yeah, in our meta, people just don't care.
Just don't care about the format defining cards like Rhystic Studies and Docksides and
So I get that absolute dumb Dockside out. I then cast Sisay. I still have no protection at this point. I just got the Rhystic Study in a dream. I cast Sisay. Blue Farm's like, cool, pack the negation. He didn't think I was going for Dockside, so I guess he didn't pack the Eldritch. Or I don't know what happened, but I'm never one to like try to rush through things. I always point priority. One said it was good. So cast Sisay. Sisay gets packed, and I'm like, that's fine. I still have like 14 more treasures. In response, off the pack for the Rhystic of note, I draw a Cutzel off of the pack negation. Like, this is great. So I cast the Cutzel. Cutzel doesn't get counted. So now with protection, I cast Sisay, and Cutzel jump started me 2 pips. Is great, works for me, cool. So now I can go get Aminatou. From there, activate Sisay, go get Aminatou, flicker Dockside, do the thing. And I just choose to win with Arbaz again because it's a new card, and I just wanted to show it off.
Sounds good. Sounds like a fun one.
nice. That leaves you 2-0-1.
Yep.
Now, let's get into that 4th round with you, Taylor.
Oh, this is the spicy one.
This is the spicy
This
one.
was a spicy game.
Well,
I'll
in
keep
your
it short,
notes here,
but this was a
this
spicy
was
game.
this was the best and worst mulligan I ever had. You went to 4?
Yeah, I went to 4. And that 4 contained a Jeweled Lotus, a Gemstone Cavern, an Ancient Tomb, and a Rhystic Study.
Damn. And then your matchup here is Tymna, Dargo, Sisay. You have Sissy here, by the way, in your notes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hate that deck.
He has some distaste for Sisay.
Yeah,
hate
he
that
has
deck.
Sissy. And then you have Krark and Thrasios. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
yeah.
I thought Krark doesn't. Wow, that's some spice.
Yeah, it's a pretty spicy pod. Gratefully, though, the only reason I mulled to 4 is because our first seat was mulled to 5. Our second seat was mulled to 4. I mulled to 4, and the Krark player also mulled to 5. So we all had really bad hands. And I did the crazy boy thing of pitching a Jeweled Lotus to a Gemstone Cavern to start the game. And
I don't know if that's a
Cotton.
bad hand when you have a turn 1 Rhystic.
But here's the thing. It's a turn 1 Rhystic with no interaction. So I'll send it. If I get blown out, I get blown out. The
In
Dargo...
Rhystic, we believe.
The Dargo player goes fetch land pass. The Sisay player goes land ignoble hierarch. It comes to me. I go, obviously, Ancient Tomb into a Rhystic Study. Notably, I draw a Fierce Guardianship for turn. I pass the turn. It gets over to the Krark player. He actually also just goes land pass. The Dargo player, who is also a friend, also in the CDH team for the Iron Lion Torrents, unfortunately goes land pass. Looks up at the table and goes, I kept a slow one. The Sisay player runs out, I think, 1 or 2 more spells in his turn. I draw a couple of cards, nothing too crazy. I run out my commander, play a land, and now I have my Fierce Guardianship online, and I'm feeling kind of safe. The Dargo player tries to go off. We end up stopping him, and I end up drawing 3 or 4 cards on his turn. And now I'm back up to having a full grip. I am on almost 7 cards at this point. I think it was 6, and I had drawn into my Magda as well as a Professional Facebreaker. So I'm feeling really comfortable. It goes back to the Sisay player's turn. The Sisay player does a couple of small things, nothing crazy, and then he jams the bane of my existence with my deck, a Blind Obedience. And it comes down, and I stare at it, and I'm hurting. And I'm like, uh-oh, I have 1 win con left in my deck now. I don't know what to do. So I run out my Professional Facebreaker after drawing, playing a land, kind of progressing my board state. I swing my commander Malcolm. I gain a treasure from Malcolm. I gain a treasure from Professional Facebreaker, and I go ahead and pass the turn. Both treasures now tapped. It gets back around the table. Krark tries to do something and grow his board state. And I actually think in my earlier turn, I cast the Storm Drake and I steal his Krark and I keep his Krark with an Eldritch Evolution in my hand, prepared to try and attempt his win con. And this is the turn that ends the entire round because Torrance attempts another win, to which he tries to portable hole the 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 one that makes everything comes in tapped. The blind obedience. Yeah, thank you. He tries to portable hold the blind obedience. It gets redirected to one of my creatures. I counter that. It draws me into a couple more cards. And at this point, I now draw Magda. And I kind of start thinking to myself, I think I know what I'm going to do. So this all resolves. I draw into a couple more cards. The Sisay player basically says, I have something for you, but I'm going to hold off on it. I say, okay, not a problem. Gets to my turn. I go ahead and drop a land. I swing, or I play my, I think I just swing. I swing one more time, creating 3 more treasures, 2 from Professional Facebreaker, 1 from Malcolm. I drop my Magda. And I think the table kind of puckers up a little bit, and I tell them, I'm not going to try to win. I'm just going to pass. Like, I can't do it from here. I have to go around the table. I set up for more control. I put in a couple more pieces, and I pass the turn. It gets back around the table. I've now drawn a couple of cards, and someone tries to kill my Magda. In response, it forces me to then get Niv Mizzet. I put Niv Mizzet into play, and I have about 3 pieces of interaction in my hand to just back myself up.
Magda being able to activate and just grab Niv is so dumb.
It really is. It just makes Niv Mizzet a 5-mana spell instead of 6. But it's really fun to just be able to drop a Niv Mizzet into play. It's very uncomfortable for people. But having the amount of backup that I did and being able to turn a game that was truly just a questionable turn 1 Rhystic Study from 3rd seat into a win was a great feeling. I was able to draw the Curiosity in the next turn, Curiosity my Niv Mizzet with 3 pieces of interaction, and actually draw into 2 more pieces of interaction when they tried to remove Niv in response to the Curiosity. So it was a great round. I was very happy with the way it panned out, and I felt very clean on my win. I felt very in control of the game after turn 2.
Nice. I'm glad. Well. Okay. Now, on to you, Guy. I'm sitting here looking.
He just gives zero fucks about
I'm
that.
so done.
Hey, no. We're not gonna give Seth any shit. He is awesome for coming on and doing this with us because we're still 2 hours behind him. And Seth himself just finished up from coming from a local tournament where he top 4'd and just it went super.
I took
long.
second
So
place, and that
Seth
last
doing that
game
as well.
was the most bullshit, drug out, slap down, drag out fight I have ever seen.
Like 11 p.m. for Seth.
Wow. Just tell me how it really is. Rip the Band-Aid off. We'll save that for another day.
Save that story for after this.
Now, round 4, Guy. I see somebody seated in seat 4, and I know how much you love the deck that's in this seat 4. You have it looks like a Thrasios and Temnit seat 1. Then we have a Traxa. You, Sisay, in 3rd seat, and then your favorite deck, Nadu, in 4th. I look at the pain in your face. Oh, God.
My pain from Nadu is not from this round, and we'll get to that in a moment.
Oh, no.
I want to preface this with before this tournament, the day before, Taylor and I went on a hike with the family. We were planning on doing a ritualistic sacrifice at the top of the mountain. And we forgot to. We forgot to bring a lighter.
And we were punished for it. We were punished for it.
We were going to burn a couple Nadus on a mountainside in the sunrise, nice and spiritual, just as a sacrifice to the MTG gods. So, going into this round, I'm 2-0-1. I'm feeling pretty good. Since they want first seat, so I want to play for seeding at this point. There's a possibility of me getting in on 13 points at 2-0-3 and just ID the rest of the way. But since they wants to play for seeding, and knowing who is in first seat in this round at this point, because they are 3-0 and they're on Nadu, I want to play for seeding as much as possible. So this game did end up ending in a draw where the TNT player and the Nadu player got in a big fight over cloning and copying Nadu, who gets control of it. The attraction player, for some reason, tries to just jam a naked food chain in there, gets stopped, tries to Sabine's wreck it, gets stopped. Like, why are you doing this when we're trying to target Nadu out? It eventually gets into the point of Nadu does get a bunch of value and presents a couple interaction pieces. TNT attempts to steal a Nadu and do the same thing because he has a Nadu package himself. Which is pretty spicy tech. I guess you plan on taking it. It gets to the point of, hey, I can stop you, and I show him the interaction. Like, I can stop you right now, and then Nadu's going to win. And he can also stop you because he just revealed like 3 counter spells. So it's either we stop you here and he wins, or I stop him and you win. Let's just draw so we don't king-make anyone. Going back to how I said, fortunately, king-making situations is an out to force a draw. And we all agreed to it. That was the best option for all of us, to just draw and go on.
Always fun.
Now I'm looking at your notes here. I don't see a round 5 for you guys.
For me? Oh, boy. That's because I had the hardest round 5 of all.
A draw?
We definitely didn't ID round 5.
He fucked that draw up.
You ID'd. Why does that not surprise me?
So we were pod 2. All players know at this point, when we look at our points, that if we ID, we're all guaranteed in. And rather than knock each other out and possibly even screw our own points up by not winning the round and losing, it's just safer for us to ID, which also allows us to go get dinner. So did that.
All right, and I assume, Guy, you're in the same situation. You ID'd as well.
I was going into this round at 12 points. I did want to draw, but however, I was in pod 3 right below him. I got paired up with 3 10-pointers, so they had to play this out, which is completely okay. I knew this going into it. 11-pointers would possibly make it, but it's safest for all 3 of them to play it out. So in this pod, I have the most responsible Magda player I've ever played against in seat 1. OG Teferi, Tutor Veil, whatever you want to call it, deck in seat 2. Sisay, Tutor Chains in seat 3, and then me in seat 4. This game gets to the point of Magda having to tutor up some orb that has all permanents in her tapped, so it stops themselves, and a Grafdigger's Cage, just to keep myself with a Smothering Tide and the other Sisay player at bay. Meanwhile, Teferi's not really doing much. They got a land like a Basalt or a Grim Monolith and a Moon Silver Key, so they're not doing much, but they are holding plenty of interaction. The game goes into Sisay player A attempting to present a win through Magda stuff and revealing the stuff that they have to remove the stacks pieces, the Grafdigger's Cage and the Orb. Sorry, they attempt to cast a Tyvar. Tyvar gets Force Negation. In response to the Force Negation, since they cast a Fencer attempting to counter the Force Negation. The Teferi player says, look, I have a pack negation for this, but if I counter this, you're just going to untap and win, referring to me. At this time, I'm sitting there with probably 17 tapped treasures from my Smothering Tide. I also have Italian on one dumb decision that hasn't triggered, but maybe one time this entire. So he's like, hey, if I counter this, are you going to untap and win? I said, there's a very high chance. Like, okay, cool. So if I choose not to counter this, this person wins right here. Yep, there's a very high chance. So we just agreed to a draw there again. Unfortunately, after the game and we agreed to a draw, I looked at the top part of my deck and it was a Demonic Tutor, which would have absolutely guaranteed me the win. But it's a hindsight thing. After talking over Taylor afterwards and the position I was at with the board state I had and the removal that the other Sisay player showed, there was no line for me to get there through that board state with even the 17 treasures I had. So I wouldn't have been able to get there anyway. So accepting the draw without knowing what was on top of my deck was the right.
Hey, well, I mean, that's just how it be sometimes.
It still ended up 2-0-3.
Now, after the break, you guys made it top 16. Taylor, you were
15th.
You were 15th.
By the skin of my cheeks.
And
It
then
was the last 12-pointer, I believe, and then one 11-pointer made it.
Correct.
and then we have you, Guy, in 9th. Well, first off, Taylor, tell us about your I'm looking.
So we all know what I hate. I'm not a fan of Sisay, and I sit down at Atraxa Sisay, and it was hell.
Funny enough, these were the other 2 Sisays I was on stream with.
Yeah, it was not a fun time. I mulliganed into a decent hand. I kept a Trick Bind, a Oko, a Ragavan, a land, and I think a Delighted Halfling, and just kind of assumed I'll find another land. And funny enough, I get around the table. The first turn wasn't too crazy. Most people went, land nothing, land dork, and I was able to land Ragavan, pass. It gets around the table fully. Back to me. The Sisay player had progressed into a Sisay. The Atraxa player didn't really do anything other than I want to say it was an Esper Sentinel, and the other Sisay player did not progress anything but a Birds of Paradise, I believe. Something like that. Came back to my turn. I swung at the Sisay player across from me with Ragavan, catching his Jeweled Lotus. I go to my second main. I play my land. I cast my Mox Amber. I cast the Jeweled Lotus. I use my Mox Amber to cast my Delighted Halfling. I use the Jeweled Lotus to cast my Malcolm, and then I use my remaining 3 mana to cast Oko, and I turn the Sisay into an Elk. I pass around the table. Again, not much happens. There is a tutor. The Atraxa player the turn prior jammed a Food Chain, so he was quite scary. And he jams in upkeep a Vampiric Tutor, to which the Sisay player across from me mental missteps. Thank God we don't get blown out. We move around the table one more time. The Sisay player gets stuck on no lands and kind of gets just drilled there. The other Sisay player, also no lands, gets kind of stuck, passes to me. I'm able to cast my One Ring uncounterable because of the Delighted Halfling. I turn something else into an Elk. I think I turned a cloned One Ring into an Elk or something along those lines. I might have missed some plays here in my notes. But I definitely am able to Elk something else, draw a card off of the One Ring, and I draw into a Mystic Remora. And I then cast a Mystic Remora, which I am now, in my eyes, I am now online. I'm really pushing it now. And it gets around the table once or twice more. There's some interaction, nothing too crazy. And unfortunately, I get stuck in a spot where my interaction in my hand is Psych Rift, Deflecting Swat, and a Force of Negation. And the Trick Bind. The Trick Bind's been in my hand since opening the turn. And the Atraxa player sends another win in the turn following mine. He's able to go for another tutor to get the creature to win the game. And Force of Negation. Go ahead.
By the creature, you mean the Mist Hollow?
Either Mist Hollow or Eternal Scourge.
So he's trying to go through a food chain line to win the game.
Correct. He officially gets a Eternal Scourge after I force his tutor. He counters my force. I'm able to send one more counter into it, and I have to pitch my Trick Bind, unfortunately, to the Force of Negation so I can leave up mana. I'm able to throw the Deflecting Swat, changing the target, and he has one more counter with a Fierce Guardianship. Just happens to be enough. It resolves. He goes and tutors. He puts his Eternal Scourge on the stack, which forces him to completely tap out. And in doing so, I Cyclonic Rift his Food Chain, completely blowing him out. And if I would have just opened my mouth and told this player that I could have done these things, I think he might not have sent it, and we would have had another shot. We, being me, at least had another turn to maybe assemble a win. In which case, off the Mystic Remora, I did draw my Glinthorn Buccaneer, which, funny enough, Guy was sitting behind me for this round and was able to watch me because his game ended much sooner than mine. And he got to watch me draw 5 lands off my Mystic Remora.
Nice.
And the Sisay player, who had been getting screwed all game on no lands, is able to Tainted Pact in the Atraxa player's end step to find his Neoform, and then he is able to Neoform, after a Silence resolves, his birds into a... he was able to Neoform his birds into a Dockside, which then he's able to progress into an...
How did he cast the Neo? I thought Neoform's a sorcery, isn't it? How did he?
Yes, yeah. So he tainted packs in the end step, goes to his turn, silence in his upkeep, draws the Neoform, casts the Neoform, eats the birds, gets the Dockside. Dockside ETB is somewhere in the ballpark of like 13, something stupid because of me. It's all my fault. I had way too many artifacts in play.
This is a Clan Scouter Sensei. So.
Yeah, and he's able to then Emil, which was just in his hand. He hard casts an Emil, obviously resolves under a silence. My only out at this point is if we were stuck in this spot, if he had tapped out for some reason, maybe if I had not Awara, but nothing was an out. I had already kind of put my head down and was just like, yep, this is it. Like we got this far. I'm proud of myself for this. But he's then able to progress from infinite mana to flicker the Sisay, which was an Elk, which now comes back as a Sisay, and he can then tutor into a Derevi and One Ring to draw his deck through the Emil again with the infinite mana, just flickering in and out the Derevi, which allows him to untap the One Ring. So he was able to just draw the entire deck and then cast a Thassa's Oracle. Unfortunately, the Atraxa player was able to clone my One Ring in his turn, or maybe even, I think he cloned it twice. Cloned it once, drew a card, cloned it again, drew another card. So he was still under the One Ring protection. So the player was forced to go for a Thassa's Oracle line versus going for like his typical bounce a Bowmaster. And I think that's when he realized that his Thassa's Oracle got exiled by the Tainted Pact. So he forced a Bowmaster to kill myself and the other Sisay, pass to his upkeep, and flickered in one more time to kill the remaining Atraxa player. So it was a rough game, but at the end of the day, we did everything we could. I think I made one or two misplays. Had I maybe offered that player, hey, here's my hand, you won't be able to win off this tutor. Like, I'm gonna promise you that. I think that we would have been okay. We would have had each of us 2 more counter spells to throw at the silence and then at the Tainted Pact, but neither of us anticipated that the other 2 Sisay players were actually doing anything. Like I said, one of them was stuck on 1 land and he was just kind of in a bad spot. The other Sisay, outside of his silence or outside of his mental misstep, didn't really cast many other spells. So I don't think that either of us thought that they were in a good spot, and he thought it was the right place to jam it. I just happened to have the right interaction. So unfortunate that I didn't have any more pieces, and I drew 5 lands.
Nice. All right, Guy. From what Taylor's saying, from your head shaking, it sounds like you're...
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, you're just gonna have to.
Don't make me know.
First off, who's your turn? Who are your opponents in this one?
So, starting off, we have the lovely ban targeted itself, Nadu, first seed.
No, you don't even have to say it. I just read it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Notes, it is called Pod from Hell. And if anyone's checked her story on Instagram, it says that. So in first seed is Nadu. I'm in second seed. Notably, that Nadu keeps first 7. I'm in second seed. I end up mulling to, I believe, 5 or 6. I keep Touch the Spirit Realm, a Soul Ring, Bayou. Oh, sorry, no, it's Touch the Spirit Realm, Bayou, Mythal Misstep, Scalding Tarn, Italian, and Swan Song. So I mulligan for interaction and waste to cast it because following the next 2, it's Rograk and Thrasios. I assume we're in the top 16. They're going to keep some interaction too, considering we're against another Nadu in form. So we have 2 Nadus this pod in the top 16. And you would think, we're in top 16. People will start playing responsibly or have played responsibly to get to this point. And they will keep interaction.
Guy, I'm gonna stop you. Our local meta does not play interaction. Why does this surprise you?
Our local meta also starves Docksides and Mystics, and they don't do that out here. So I was hoping that changed too.
Nah, they don't give a fuck.
Apparently not. So anyways, the deck with probably the least amount of interaction, molds for interaction. So this first seat, Nadu, they go with a pretty weak start. They just go, I'm pretty sure it's just like but not so weak on turn 1. It was land, mana crypt, umbral mantle. So great for them on turn 1. It was, I believe it was a colorless land though. Gets to me. I think I just go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just go land pass. I don't have a dork or anything. And I'm holding up Swan Song just in case. Pass to Rock Thrass. They go land pass. Considering you kept 7, I think. I'm pretty sure they kept 7 or 6. Goes to 4-seat Nadu. I think he just goes like a land dork, maybe land dork, and what's the blue thing that like taps and untaps? One of the order cards.
That's the Alfedo Alchemist.
Yeah, that thing. So he gets that out on turn 1 or turn 2. And at that point, the 1-seat Nadu was like, hey, everyone knows how this card works, right? Well, yeah, sure. And we just re-clarify. That wasn't being asked. He was not asking that in like a meaner anyway, but just wanted to clarify everyone knew how it works. So we established everyone knows how this card works for that deck, and that is a very terrifying piece. So that resolves, gets to 1-seat Nadu's turn. He goes Urza Saga pass. So maybe he did keep a weak start because he's got like I'm pretty sure like maybe a Manamo and a Urza Saga and a Mana Crypt and a Humble. Nothing else going on there. Passes to me. I go land pass again because I'm just holding up interaction at this point because I got nothing else to do. I kept this hand to interact with Nadu. Rogthras goes land Devoted German. Okay, that's an odd one keeping this pod, but you do you, bud. Goes to 4th-seat Nadu. He goes to cast Nadu. In response to the cast of Nadu, 1st-seat Nadu asked me to remove it, thinking I have removal for this. I'm like, no, I got nothing, and I know you left up mana for a reason, so you do. So he then Otawara's Alchemist back to his hand in response to the Nadu, which slows him down for a turn. I'm like, sweet. I saved cards and didn't have to do that. That Nadu resolves. He passes to 1st-seat Nadu. 1st-seat Nadu goes, I believe, just land pass again, looking to activate Urza Saga. Gets to me, and at this point, this is turn 3. I think maybe I can spend a turn to develop my board and cast the Sisay that I've drawn at this point. And that way I can go into next turn, cast Talion, and leave up interaction. So I cast my Sisay. I pass the turn. Rogthras does land pass, I think. Nothing else. And goes to Nadu in seat 4. They cast the Alchemist again, and then attempt to cast a Shuko. I'm like, cool. Mental missed up the Shuko. That's out of the way. I had that interaction left up, but I'm tapped out at this point. Gets back to Nadu in 1st seat on their 4th turn. They go untap, play Forest, which they were missing, cast Nadu, start equipping Umbral Mantle, and just go off. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there looking at a Source of the Plowshare, and a Swan Song, and a Touch the Spirit Realm in my hand because I thought I could develop for a turn. Needless to say, that Nadu goes through, gets everything they need, and just storms off and moves on to the finals.
So, all right.
Yeah, so we suck.
I don't know about that. Y'all did. I mean, out of 128 people, y'all did both make it to top 16. So I think that's a win there. I mean, can't win them all.
The best part of all of this is that by the time we were in the truck, which was parked a block away, the final game was already completed.
Yeah, so the final game, if anyone watched it, ended on turn 2 by the same player that absolutely destroyed Taylor.
So the clam chowder won the day.
Clam chowder sent it on turn 2 before anybody else, and just nobody had any interaction, and he was able to push a win through. So it was a great tournament, though. I learned a lot about the deck that I brought. I learned a lot about myself as a player, and about the way that I can maybe talk to other players versus just trying to police the table. And I've known that trying to police the table by myself is not always enough. And another thing that I learned is that a draw is better than a loss. And in some situations, like my game 1, it is just better to, hey, I will offer a draw at this point. I have 15 counter spells that I have access to right now. No one else is going to win, but I can't win. So I'm going to offer you guys a draw. And people actually took it because they understood that what I have right now in play, you will not be able to beat me. But you also won't be able to lose to me because I have no win cons left.
So Taylor, going on kind of like your lessons learned and stuff like that with this tournament. Do you have any cards like any of your highest performers, like cards that perform better than?
I am so very grateful for two things. One, I screwed myself by not putting a Spell Seeker in my deck. If I'd put a Spell Seeker in my deck, my game one, I would have won. That was a big mistake that I made because I thought that I could go without. And two, I saw my my gemstone, not gemstone, my goodness, I can't remember the name of the land, Cavern of Souls, in 3 separate games. And that Cavern of Souls really just was pristine for my deck. I wouldn't recommend it in anything that's not any kind of tribe, but this deck specifically, with the commander and the win con both being pirates, very, very important. And it's what won me one of my games, and I was very happy with it. And also my dearest, fondest love of Niv Mizzet. Everybody that knows me knows that I love that card.
How many times have we got just wrecked by Niv Mizzet on our stream?
I've been glued to that card for a very long time, and any deck I can play it in, it makes me very happy.
Nice. All right, Guy. What are your kind of thoughts after this tournament, and tell us about some of the cards that were your best performers, and kind of the ones you didn't think worked as well as you thought.
So I didn't really have any standoutish cards. The Basim, Arbaz card that from Assassin's Creed that I won off my 2 games off of. I could have won off of any other Sisei combo in the deck. I just chose that one because it's new and it's cool and I wanted to show it off. I am glad that I did get 3 Assassin's Creed cards into the top 16, which was super fun to me. Unfortunately, Basim, the one I really wanted to try out, did not show up at all. But I do still have faith in that card. I'm going to continue trying it out. I think it's a good one for Sisei. As far as lessons learned, as Taylor said, the 2 lessons I did learn from this tournament as well were, one, the first off, draws 1 point is better than 0, and offering a draw, whether it be in an accidental king-making situation or if you do like Taylor did in round 1 and you just sculpt the hand where no one else can win, offer it, and just it's better for everyone if we get a point than 0. The second being, you can't rely on your opponents for interaction. They're not saying mulligan and disrupt your entire game plan to hold up interaction like I should have in the semifinals, but don't rely on your opponents no matter what part of the tournament you're in. You can't control what they do. They can't control what you do. So play to your best ability, and mulligan is a huge thing, huge part about it.
All right, guys. Well, Guy, do you want to close us out here? And we'll go ahead and be done with this. This is actually our first one. So
yeah, so this is our first tournament recap. Let us know if you want to see more of these, even if we do well or do poorly. I'm not gonna lie. We took some notes for some other tournaments, but it did not end well. So I didn't think anyone wanted to listen to me saying, "Oh, I went 1-4 down in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and here's what happened." But if you want to hear some more of these, let us know down in the description below. Again, thank you to Seth for after his long day of getting in that brutal top 4 finish he had in our local tournament. Congrats to him on that, and coming back and recording this late at night with us. Thank you to him for doing that. Thank you to our wonderful TOs and judges we had there at the Snowy Summit, and thank you to Raul and Freddie from MTG Basics for streaming it, giving us some good commentary. Loved meeting those guys as well as a lot of people we played with. Thank you to everyone who came up to us at the event and was like, "Hey, I watched your content. I love it." It was so humbling and just letting us know that we're actually getting out there, and it's crazy to start being recognized in person. It brought the biggest smile to my face I've had in a long time. So thank you all for that. Just continue to like, share, and subscribing down below. We'll see everyone next week with some normal gameplay, as well as all the events down in the description that we plan on attending in the future. The next one we're going to will be the Animate in Raleigh, North Carolina. It is a 15K, as well as they have a 1K, a 3K, and a 5K that week, all in Raleigh, North Carolina. Taylor is still trying to convince his wife to help us in the comments.
I'm trying to do the same. I got to convince my wife as well.
To get him and a couple of the Colorado Springs guys to come out and fly with us at 15K. So that's the next one we plan on attending. That's all I got to say. Thank you all. Just continue to like, share, and subscribe and comment. Let us know if you want to see more of these.